The following is a list of Moors who have been kidnapped and are being held for a demand of income. The demand of income is being made against the family as well as through fraudulent submissions of documents alleging that they are being cared for in some sort of long-term care fashion. These Moors have been kidnapped literally off the land by employees of various corporations guised as county, city, township, boroughs. These names that we have all been mentally conditioned to believe are government are not. They are exactly what they say they are. They are municipal corporations. And as such, they, if you do the research, you will find that they are foreign corporations on American soil. Therefore, they do not have standing nor jurisdiction to make a demand of income from the Aboriginal, indigenous people, or any people on American soil. This making their actions criminal. However, as Moors, we must bring these crimes to the forefront via civil complaints against these unalienable Constitution treaty secured rights of the people, Aboriginal, indigenous Moors. So we start off with our sister RVBey, who was kidnapped through a joint venture between Memphis Corporation and Shelby Corporation under the purview of Tennessee. Now we say under the purview of Tennessee, which is a union state, because every union state is bound and obligated to protect the people from foreign and domestic invasion. We then have Daoud Ill under the purview of Arkansas, Amir Muslimin Ill under the purview of Missouri, as well as Kush Ra Kush Bey. We have Asar Patar Amin Ra under the purview of Ohio. And if we don't have the municipal corporation, the ones that did the kidnapping, the employees that did the kidnapping, we just reference the union state that is bound and obligated to protect the people. We have Jeremy Paler Ill, Terry Thorne Bey, J. McCall Brooks Bey, Joseph Canaday Ill, Kush Amir Bunch Ill, Emmanuel Billings Bey, Yassin Khalik Alamin Ill, and Michael Curry Bey, all being held under the purview of North Carolina. Noble Crisco Ill, being held under the purview of New Jersey. Messiah Aziz Ill and Crystal Ill, being held through a joint venture between Mercer, Freehold, and Trenton Corporation under the purview of New Jersey. We're still waiting on an update regarding the Patricia Bay's infant baby kidnapped by Atlantic Corporation under the purview of New Jersey. Eldridge Teron Fisher Ill and Martise Sevillon Ill under the purview of Indiana. Solomon Ill Bey and Mumi Abu Bey under the purview of Texas. William Barrett Ill and Bomani Abidwell Ill, William Barrett A. kidnapped under the purview of Virginia, and Bomani Abidwell Ill kidnapped by Chesapeake Corporation under the purview of Virginia, RVBey under the purview of West Virginia, Thomas Lee Bay under the purview of California, Victor Eduardo Juarez Ill, kidnapped under the purview of Harlem, under the purview of Georgia, Natural Tahuti Ill, kidnapped by Benner Corporation under the purview of Pennsylvania Corporation, and then Rennie Bay, kidnapped by Hamilton Corporation under the purview of Ontario, which is a subcorporation of Canada. All right. There we have Moors who have been kidnapped and are being held hostage by employees of various corporations on American soil, which is in violation of the American Constitution, and it is a treaty violation. And being that we're talking about Moorish Americans, Aboriginal Indigenous on this land, who are being kidnapped by foreign, or rather employees of a foreign corporation on American soil, this makes this an international issue, because you have two nations with one nation warring against another. Therefore, this is an international issue. If you have a family member near or far of your immediate family or one of the family that you know and you would like them added to this list, please send an email to MHHS-Eyes-Wide-Open@gmail.com, and in the subject line put Kidnap Moor, and please provide us with their free national appellation, the municipal corporation that the employee is operating through that kidnapped them, along with the union state that they are in, that corporation is in purview to. All right? Thank you very much.
All right. Islam, and welcome to MHHS Eyes Wide Open. This is your host, Anita L., along with my co-host, Ms. Raheem Aleph L.
Peace and love, Anna E. Peace and love, Moors, worldwide, everywhere. Everybody on the line. Peace
All right,
and love.
Peace and love.
Right.
RVBey.
Islam, peace and love to all.
And Cujo Adwa L.
Peace, Moors, Islam, all Moors worldwide.
All right.
Peace and love.
Let's see. I just want to send a big shout out to our listeners listening near the corporate construct called Great Britain, South Africa, Japan, the Netherlands, Islam Brother Albacet, the Philippines, Mexico, Venezuela, Cuba, and Trinidad and Barbados and Jamaica, and to family that we have yet to connect with. Peace and love. Thank you so much for listening. The chat room is open. Thank you so much to our callers for calling in every week, filling up the phone lines before the broadcast even begins. Today we've got a lot of little tidbits and subject matters to talk about, discuss, and cover. So before we get started, we want to just make a little analysis, just a little food for thought on a few subjects before we get into the major subject of tonight's broadcast. I didn't know this. I've never followed it. But it was brought to my attention that I think yesterday they had the college vote, and the electoral college vote is the vote that determines who the next president of the United States of America will be. Now, I believe about 2 weeks or 2 or 3 weeks ago, they had an alleged vote that really wasn't a vote. From what I gather, it was just an opinion poll. It wasn't a vote. And if I got my facts correct, Hillary actually won that. Is that correct? Did I get that right?
Yeah, she won what they call the popular vote, and so that just proves to the people that
actually Hillary actually won that. Yeah. However, they announced that Trump won. Now, what's interesting is they just told you who they were going to be electing, in my opinion. This is just my analysis, because that's not the real vote. The Electoral College is the one, and they have one for each state or union state. They're the ones who actually do the voting, not the people, the Electoral College. And so if they told everybody 3 weeks ago that Trump won, yet yesterday they had the actual election and Trump happened to win, what is that telling you? I'm just saying, this is some food for thought, because they already told you who they were going to be selecting. It didn't have anything to do with this mad rush that people did to get to these so-called voting booths that was nothing more than just opinion poll. Now, does this mean anything to Moors? No. But it just goes to show you to what length these people will go to make the people docile and compliant as they believe they're participating in their own government, when they're not. They're being absolutely manipulated in every way conceivable. And the purpose is, this is the purpose. If people feel like they're participating, they won't rebel. Mm-hmm. This was kind of brought out in the movie The Matrix. In The Matrix, there's a scene where they say that they created for the people a utopia and they lost whole crops. And so what they did was they created, there's an echo going. There's an echo. Somebody's echoing. What they did was they created, great, it's gone. What they did was they created a way to make the people docile and compliant. Because as long as the people are docile and compliant, they can continue to generate revenue off of them. They won't lose crops. And the way that crops, when they say that they lost crops, what they're saying is when people are not happy, they commit suicide. They might stop eating and starve themselves to death, or they will well, I guess that's it, huh? They'll commit suicide. They'll starve themselves to death, and without a breathing body, these municipal corporations cannot receive credit per head. So they have to constantly get the people to feel like they're participating. Well, yesterday they let you know you ain't participating in the damn thing. What that means for the Moors is y'all ain't participating in the damn thing either. Because if you're going to participate in any type of voting, you need to first get up off your behind, first study. Get up off your behind and start doing some sort of a possible election of a qualified Moor to be the president for the United States and the vice president for the United States, because there is none. There hasn't been a president, vice president, Congress, Supreme Court for the United States since 1861 when Congress adjourned. Because if you read the Constitution, under the United States of America, there's only a president and a vice president. So we got work to do. But the beginning of our work is on self. And for those who might be thinking, well, I qualify for that. I could run for that. Don't think from ego, because, you know, one of the things that the prophet said is we're to draw a circle around our passions and square up our conduct, which means nothing should be coming from ego. It should be coming from an absolute objective place. And I can tell you, being objective takes practice, because the vast majority of people have a hard time being objective. If they were, they would be able to reflect on themselves, see the things that need to be corrected, and make correction on the spot. So we all have lessons to learn, and in order for us to put ourselves in some of those empty seats, we have to first start working on ourselves. So I just wanted to put that on the table. And then, Roz, I know you wanted to say something, and I don't know if anybody else had something else that they just wanted just to put on the table as a food for thought, but I can't recall right now.
I wanted to just make excuse me, kind of with the prison. I mean, like, it really should be a whole class on its own, you know, like you always mention when you open up the show, the broadcast, about those who have been kidnapped. And, you know, oftentimes we don't really realize, you know, what that really means. And you also mentioned that these municipalities, counties, townships, boroughs, etc., are not the government. So that really means that they're going out and literally kidnapping the people under the guise of being government, and that's the biggest thing that we have to recognize. So now from that, then they put them into the prisons. Now everyone knows that the prison system at this point is the biggest financial institution that they have, because, you know, as you said before, if they are in fact doing, like everybody says, oh, well, they're doing commerce, and no one has ever thought, well, if they're doing commerce, what is their merchandise? Never even thought about it, because the merchandise is really human trafficking, you know. So now we look at this and we look at what jurisdiction or what type of domicile we're dealing with, right? Now, the prison system, for example, the prison system has in it a Christian, you know, where you can go to the rectory, or what they call the church, or I don't know exactly. I think they call it a rectory within it. Now, we have to recognize that these are Christian institutions, because that's not like, we're not talking about, you know, opposition to, or an opposition to one's choice of religion. We're not getting on the case of that. We're just making a case where it is concerned that our religion is not Christian, right? So now you have these institutions that are putting these rectories in that are definitely Christian. Think about it for a second. They are putting in temples are being also established within the prison. Temples, which obviously are being done in conjunction with, an agreement with, a MST of A Grand Sheik, or I guess we'll have to be at the authority of the Grand Sheik. So they're putting the temples in the prisons. Now, you may be thinking, oh, well, that's great, because now they can get some information regarding their nationality. Well, if you know that this is divine and national and what nationality is, if you were to gain information really about national principles, which are right and exact, but then you realize that the people that have kidnapped you proudly call themselves Christians, and you know the Christian intent and agenda as it has been recorded under the Inter Caetera Divina, right? And you know that municipalities are that as well. They don't hide that from you. Then you might want to wonder to yourself, why would they want you to know anything about your divine creed inside of their institution, which directly opposes your religion and your creed and your culture. Now, it doesn't have to do that, but you know that it does. You look at the international document, the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, of which from that, in the succession of affairs, the Constitution was established as the law of the land. So these people are breaking the law every day, all day, making institutions, because what they're doing is they are merchandising human trafficking. So I thought about it. At first I said, well, I guess it's a good idea that a temple would be inside a prison. But I recently received something, and it showed that those who are setting up the temples inside the prison are not setting them up teaching national principles at all. They're not teaching national principles. These are the temples who apparently believe that they are citizens of this jurisdiction, which is quasi-national. All states and anything that comes under them are quasi-national. So if you're a national, how could that be? It can't be. So I got a letter. I sent someone, and I don't need to say who it is, but I sent someone some literature, Moorish literature, Quran, 101s, to share with themselves and whoever is in their circle within the prison. They decided that they would put it in the temple that was within the prison itself, because of the nature of it being, they consider that as religious document, religious books. Do you know that the Grand Sheik who's running that temple within that prison refused them, saying they were not in harmony with their teaching? Now, I don't understand that, but as I further read the letter, the person said that when they go to the temple that is within the prison system, they teach out of the Bible. I didn't get to tell you that, Sister E, because I was continuing reading it and highlighting some of the things. They actually teach more of the Bible. Now, let's get clear with the Bible, or the Bibliotheliotech. We have to understand and know that is the Christian version of the Bibliotheliotech. That's the Christian version. And we've shared information on that before, where when you read the Bible, or what you call the Bible, Genesis 1 is definitely talking about, those manifested in the flesh. But most of the Bible, after that, they go to Genesis 2, which is absolutely talking about the descendant of the Adam and Eve, or what they call Adam and Eve. But it's Adam and the evolution of the Adam. So they're talking about their descendants. So if you have a temple within this prison system that's not even going to accept their own teachings from the prophet in the temple, it makes a lot of sense in a way that if they were selling out and they think that they're citizens of a Christian jurisdiction, then they're in the temple not even really teaching what they're supposed to be teaching where the prophet is concerned. Why does it make sense? Because the prophet was teaching national principles. So they are they're not teaching the national principles and teaching the Christian Bible. If that's not a clear indication, now this is coming from the inside, so we know what, we're not in there, but now we know. So, and then the other thing is that how is it possible that it's not in harmony? How is that even possible? Other than if you think you are under that jurisdiction, that Christian jurisdiction of the United States of America, everybody knows this. It's not a secret. There's nothing wrong with your choice of religion at all. Nobody's knocking anyone's choice of religion. But it's so clear what this sellout thing is all about, because, I was kind of floored about that at minimum they couldn't even get the divine teachings, portion of the divine and national movement. However, once you get through the divine and you understand the divine principles, you automatically have to understand where you are in the national principles. That's why the prophet said this is divine and national. It just further shows what is really being infiltrated and how it's being infiltrated. Now, I can't really speak on the brothers or sisters, well, mostly brothers that I'm hearing from that are in the jails already, because I know someone had told me before that, look, you need to find out about who you are before you even get in those places. Now, we understand that there's circumstances that have, if somebody's kidnapping you, they're kidnapping you, but we as a people and as a nation really needed to get this information into our family. Just as the prophet said, get it into the children by any means necessary, because they're the future. They're the generation of the future generations that will make these changes. So I kind of wanted to just share that and show how corrupt the national principles and the work of Prophet Noble Ali has become. I don't know if anyone else has a comment on that. Islam.
Wow. Just to add on, when we get, because we get a few calls from people out here that are in some type of institution for whatever, and most of the times when they contact us, they would contact us from the perspective of there are inmates here that need more information with regard to, they might need Qurans, or they want one-on-one questionnaires, or some type of plan for study groups or something like that. So when you hear people speak from the perspective of temple in the prison, keep in mind that it could be a separate venue in there. Like, it doesn't have to be tied to anything that's anything else. Like for example, we had one chaplain called us, and then she was saying, well, if their religion is Islamism, why can't they just be with the Muslims? Mm-hmm. Right? And then explaining to her that, well, that version of Islam is particular to a specific group of people. So the custom, like, even though there might be relative language, the customs might be different. So you can't really lump it together like that. But it's not that it's separated, but they have their own customs. That they might want to wear a turban, or they might say, nah, vegetarian. I don't want halal or nothing like that. All right. So when you get into these arrangements that are happening, and there's there's something that's actually set up in the institution, whoever set that up with the institution would have been the one to say how it's gonna go. They would say what books should be in there. So if you have somebody in there saying that they're Moorish Science Temple, but then the book that they're using to teach from is a Bible, clearly something's going on that shouldn't be going on.
Yep.
I yield the floor.
Yes, ma'am.
Peace and love. And just to add on from my perspective on the situation, which I'm sure we all share, is, you know, it's a sad mentality when, you know, you got quote unquote ran sheiks that are, you know, supposed to be or behind the wall running temples in those camps or whatnot, those penitentiaries. And they're denying, they're sitting there vouching or saying that this is not Moorish information. And you see the same thing going on, saying Ma about them, you know, trying to reject the information. You see that going on the inside as well as the outside. Yeah. I feel as though, you know, it's sad because the saddest part about it all is they're blocking people from knowledge in that aspect, but also, you know, going directly against the principles that Noble Drew Ali laid out, and against specifically freedom, you know? Like, so it's hard, like, you know, it's like people are chameleons these days because, you know, they put on the garments of Moors, the thing that they're presenting for Noble Drew Ali, et cetera, representing. But everything in the demonstration and in its substance and the things that they speak is contrary to the verifiable principles that he laid out. That told you what was the remedy for the nations of the earth. You know what I mean? So, you know, I just feel like we're moving into a new age, and it's been a lot of people who've told you that it's a difference between Moors and Europeans. And it's sad because you have Moriscos these days, still present day. You have Moriscos, and they're acting as if they're presenting for Islam. Because like you said, why the sister said, well, why doesn't the Moors just get with the Muslims? You know, Muslims are very relative. But the thing is, you got some people who are Moriscos, so they're like, you know, we're gonna go to, you know, the church chapel or whatnot, or, you know, we're gonna reject a load of your thought, you know, anything dealing with independent action, they reject that in these modern days. And it's sad because they're following the blueprint of divisiveness as far as, you know, what it is that I've been doing, you know, to continuously put on the record by you know, actions, words, writ, deeds, thoughts, everything, you know, everything relative to freedom. So my thing is, it's sad now it's coming to light that it's even more on the plantation for real. Like, you know, people say slavery, but we know that these so-called jails or these prisons, like, I wish that on nobody. But if you ever been in there, you already know that's like a sobering reality of slavery or servitude. You know what I mean? And it's sad that anybody that will be in there will be against the principles of freedom. That's what's the most hurting thing, is that, you know, there's some people who have accepted their lower self and like, what I did, I'm supposed to be here. But I can't understand or relate to or comprehend how anybody could be in there and want to block any information relative to freedom, to a higher thought, to, you know, liberation, all of these things. Like, I don't understand it. So, for those who've been putting that divisive energy out there and more so, trying to promote the agenda or the mission, the conquest intent of the Pilgrims, modern Europeans, etc., they're going to fall with them. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in these next, again, like you were saying, the Electoral College, they just put Trump in, Hillary won the popular vote, but again, that should let you know that you as a people, your votes, quote unquote, don't count. Moors are supposed to cast national ballots. And even then, we don't have to do that because you're talking about a Christian society in the first place, really. And that's real facts. So don't talk to me. Don't tell the people that you're dealing with Islam, but then you're promoting a Christian agenda, not a Buddhist, not an Islamic, not a Hindu, Christian agenda. These people have acquiesced to Christian law, codes, policies. They don't know the lineage of the laws that they're saying are valid. You know what I mean? And that being the case, it's people who are still these codes and these statutes, this is the law, And they're not even saying this is the law of the land. They're just saying this is the law because what people fail to realize and leave out is when you're talking about the law of the land or natural law, international law, constitutional law, all right, the land of Americas is north, south, and central. So that's not a country. That's not a tract of land. That's the continental, And think back. Go back in time. If the United States is not a continent, if Canada is not a continent, who was the Continental Congress? Because the United States isn't a continent. You know what I mean? And why did they exist before the Pilgrims who got established with the corporate United States of America by who? Moors, all right? That sanctioned that whole thing. So it's when you look at the historical documentation, which is beyond dispute, the treaties of peace and friendship, regardless of, because, we talk about being in denial of our ancestors, but the Europeans, in some aspects, are acting as if they're in denial of their ancestry. You hear Trump speaking, he's talking about our country and all of this, like they're not from Europe, like they're not pilgrims. This is a brain game. This is a brainwash. So what happens is people accept the fact that, this is the European country. Yeah, this is our country, and we came from somewhere else, like the land wasn't all connected. Like we don't have dominion on this land. Thus you have your vassals and those who have acquiesced to the will of the European system or structure or infrastructure or that false matrix, And I say false matrix because matrix means womb. So you got the aspect of wardship going on, whereas your so-called government has become your so-called guardians because, they have people in a position of wardship. And even in the jails, when you're talking about those who've been denying, of Moorish literature and different literature relative to nationality, birthright, status, awareness, and truth, you got to keep in mind that all of these people in some way are interrelated in their mentality and in their concepts. So it just goes back to the fact that, look, in the days and times that we are in now, we have to understand that there is a clear diversity between Moors and Christian powers, all right? And anybody who thinks that, the Christian power just means going to church on Sunday, just observe a court, a so-called court, a municipal court, or whatever, observe, you know what I mean? Carry out. You got magistrates sitting on the bench marrying people and things like that, all right? And that goes back to the fact that church and state have not really been separated in fact and in deed and in the will of this conquest intent. So, for those who want to fall up under it, man, it's like what can we say at this point? It's all by acquiescence. They've accepted that condition, but it's just sad that these people are in so-called positions of power and are blocking other people from getting the information because they're saying that, you know, we're the leader guy type of thing. And in them doing that, you know, they let the pilgrims play them in jail as if they have some house power. And then that's where they start to speak on the behalf of all Moors, and what they're saying isn't necessarily true. So we have to be very mindful that just because somebody, you know, steps out and assumes the role of a Moorish leader, quote unquote, you know, by claim, you know, because you got those who are that indeed and in fact, and then you got those who are that by claim only. Just like they say the United States is the land, but that's only by claim only. That's not the actual fact. So
right.
if they're not, you know, standing, or if they're blocking or deflecting all the aspects of the 5-pointed star, that green 5-pointed star on the red flag, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, you know, and again, it's a very strong emphasis on freedom. This includes your right to travel. So just like you got those who are in there saying this is not what it is, and, you know, this is not, et cetera, you got that on the outside too. So, you know, I'm just saying, be careful, you know what I mean? Make the refinement. For people who are trying to say that they represent Noble Drew Ali, check them out, you know what I'm saying? In every aspect of what Noble Drew Ali laid out, because, you know, there's a lot of people who are ill-informed.
You know what? I also wanted to add, I just want to add this one thing in reference to this. It could be because they're coming from RVBey publications and they're just trying to reject that, because if someone were to get wind of what we have on RVBey publications, they would be in a much better position to actually free themselves. So it could be blocking it for that reason as well. You know, that they don't want that under those circumstances. And the other thing, when you were talking about voting and positions, there's a lot of Moors who really think that we are to run for positions, different political positions under the jurisdiction of the United States of America, and that is such an error. They have not read what the law of the land really is, does not know that that's not the deal. Like, they'll say, well, the prophet, he had people running for that. Now, I need to find out that to my knowledge, is not correct. It doesn't mean that he didn't know people who were in whatever positions, the priest being one of them. But we also have to know that during these times, the state, still being quasi-national domiciles, were proper republics and acting accordingly. This is all before these municipalities, counties, NE says it was so easy, cities, towns, boroughs, and townships, right? And which are under the municipalities, before they stepped in and made you believe they were government. You know, so everything was running in accord, in accordance with the law, because the states were correct. So when you go to run for positions, I mean, it's really simple. We all know what the law is. Why would we endorse, enforce, or any other way support any institution that is absolutely violating the law? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. So why would you run for that position, and which ultimately you are either sell out or corrupt? You're going to become corrupt, even if you thought you was going in with the right reasons. But even if you did think that, that's not your position. You just mentioned the Continental Congress. You just mentioned that, like, people need to understand what domiciles are and how this thing was, how this thing is laid out. It didn't change. Modern Europeans and municipalities and state ofs, don't change the law. They don't have the power to change the law. And even with this President elect Trump, well, when he's inaugurated, he'll be inaugurated, in January the 15th, I think is the day to do that. Even with that, he's the President of the United States of America, not of the American land. And the powers that are delegated are only executive powers, meaning to execute the law that is already laid down, not to make new law. And only because of our lack of knowing that have we allowed these things to go on. So, and I want to take it back to the prisons. Look, the problems in the prisons are not going to be fixed from within the prison. If that's what you think, we should forget it. The problem with the prisons and the kidnapping of people being locked down in there has to be fixed outside of the prison by the people themselves. So we need to really begin to understand what is truly happening. And every week, and it has the thing where she explains it to you. These are not government. They're not. They're highwaymen. They're private security guards. They're Roman soldiers. They're whatever whatever terminology you want to use on that, because I know you're used to hearing Roman soldiers. I know you know this. So they're not government. And it's like a whole class. Because, Annie, you and I were talking about, I forgot what it was earlier today, where we talk about people who write to the Queen of England and the Pope and all of this. You're not subjected to that. That's not even what that has nothing to do with us. Those who are subjected to that, they might need to write a letter to them, not you. They don't have that power here over you as a more American national, Aboriginal, indigenous to the land. And so once we get that straight, I know we'll be able to effectuate to be done here on this land and for our posterity, just as it says in the agreement of for our posterity when you read the preamble to the law of the land. Islam.
I don't really want to take too much time talking on that particular subject, but I will say this, because I think it's been covered. People need to think about this, all right? The prisons were established by the municipal corporation. The municipal corporations are foreign corporations on American soil, all right? All of them follow Christian crusade policies and procedures. That their religion is of a Christian nature. For there to be an alleged Moorish science temple inside a Christian prison is so contradictory. It is like a glaring neon light that says a wolf in sheep's clothing. Because there is no way in creation that you can have an Islamic religion inside a Catholic Christian facility. The two don't go together at all. That right there is a neon sign that says, pay attention, something ain't right. And I can tell you exactly why they put that illusion inside of the prison. Because for the Aboriginal indigenous people
our minds don't comprehend that the people that establish and run these things, they do it for profit only. They see flesh and blood people as dollar signs. See them as human beings at all. And so the best way to maximize their profitability is to get the people in prison to be as docile and relaxed as they can possibly make them. Because if they're not, they're going to rebel. They rebel, like I said earlier, they may commit suicide. If too many commit suicide, they're not going to have the necessary head count to receive income. So they have to keep the people docile and complacent. And this is why they got hairdressers, prison to do hair, nail technicians coming in to do the nails. They got people looking at prison like it's a home away from home. They ain't rebelling, and they have made the people's lives outside of the prison so unbearable that some of them choose to be in prison rather than outside of the prison. It's a psychological game at the expense of the people. Because if I can get you wanting to stay behind the bars because you get 3 meals a day, doesn't matter if they're giving you crap, you can adapt to that crap and it will taste good over time. Look at some of the things that people eat today. It's crap. But over time they've adapted. So they get 3 meals a day, alleged meals a day. They have someplace warm, usually, to sleep. They got a little job. They get a little paycheck. And they got a little social time. They're not fighting that. They have been mentally conditioned to believe that they're better off. So if the life minimally of a person is 70, they got 70 years of $10,000 per day, per month, per year, times 70. And once you pass, they done took out some insurance on you, so they're going to clean up on that too. For us to expect these people to have some sort of human compassion is never going to happen. It's never going to happen. If they were ever going to have that, it would have happened a long time ago. Not in 2016, going into the Gregorian 2017, and still, you got lynching going on, and it ain't from a tree. Same game, different players. And our people are still asleep. Which kind of sort of brings us to this particular, believe it or not, this is the subject matter of the broadcast. If I could just get you to think, you'd free us. There are those who, quote, believe that municipal corporations, i.e. counties, cities, towns, township, boroughs, are engaging in, quote, business with the Aboriginal Indigenous people. And as such, we, the Aboriginal Indigenous people, don't know how to conduct business with these municipal corporations. Therefore, we allegedly need to call in attorneys who do. If there is business going on, then there must be a contract and merchandise. The question that I'm asking is, what is the merchandise? Now, I just want to give a little bit of a background, something or another here, because in conjunction with that, we have people who also believe that we Moors are or can be members of the United States of America, yet in the original 13th Amendment with the 20th section, Section 12 says that those of African descent cannot be members of the United States of America. Why? Because that we already have what a construct nation established. We're not a new nation. We're an ancient nation, ancient people. All right? How do I know this? Because Hillary Clinton sat right in the Benjamin Franklin room in 2012 and said, Morocco, not the kingdom of Morocco, which only came into being in 1956, all right? 1956, the kingdom of Morocco came into being. Hillary Clinton said that it was in 1786 that Morocco helped them make for themselves a nation. That nation being the United States of America. That nation, that construct, was established for modern Europeans. If it wasn't for the Moors, there would be no United States of America. But that ain't for us. We're ancient. It is because of our authorizing that the United States of America exists to this day. All right? So we can't be a member of that. But let's just think. If I am, or if I did have the ability to be a citizen of the United States of America, that would make me a citizen of everything under that construct, which would include the state and the municipal corporation, which would mean that there should be a benefit. There should be a benefit. What's the benefit? What would the benefit be? There is no benefit for the Aboriginal Indigenous people. You know why? Because we can't be members of the United States of America. We must declare our nationality under our own nation. Because as long as we don't, you got modern Europeans who will treat us all in any manner, fashion, or way, because we got no protection. We are literally stateless people. You can't be a member of the United States of America, because if you did, you would at least have the benefit of protection. Hire the municipal corporations who come after the Aboriginal Indigenous people. They come after the Aboriginal Indigenous people who presume to be members/citizens of the United States of America. If they're coming after you, then you can't be a citizen/member of their contract, or you would have the necessary protection. So let's go back to we don't know how to do business. All right? Let's go back to we don't know how to do business. Somebody, this is the question, and I'm hoping that we have some people who can call in and just put it on the table. What do you think the merchandise is? Because in order for there to be a contract, there has to be merchandise. Let me give you an analogy. If I go to Walmart and purchase a TV, the contract is the sales receipt. The sales receipt says, I got a TV, supposed to be in working condition, and for the TV, I exchanged X amount of Federal Reserve notes. Now, if the TV doesn't work right, the contract says I can return it in X amount of days, get my notes back. That's contract. What's the merchandise in that contract? The TV. Yeah. Now, there's people that are saying that there's some business going on, business going on between the Aboriginal Indigenous people and the employees of every municipal corporation. Well, what's the merchandise? What is the merchandise that's involved in every traffic stop? What is the merchandise that's involved in every kidnapping? What is the merchandise that is involved in every kidnapping of every baby on American soil of any Aboriginal Indigenous being? What is the merchandise? That's my question. I'm hoping somebody can tell me what the merchandise is that would substantiate the contract, because if there's business, there's got to be a contract.
Well, are you? Oh yes. Are you? You know. I mean, no. It's a wonderful question because we always hear it. They always say, "Oh no, this is all about commerce. This is about commerce, and they're doing commerce and all that." Okay. Well, let's entertain that. I love the question you're posing. Let's entertain that. And the question is, so what's their merchandise? Now, the other thing you need to make sure is clear, too, is that if we know they're all charters, we know that, they're all corporations, that we know. So they can't be government. And if they call themselves governing whatever they're governing, they darn sure don't have parity with the flesh and blood beings. That is clear. That is absolutely clear. So if they're government, they wouldn't be doing commerce. They wouldn't be a corporation as such. And since everybody is admitting that they're commerce, I don't think they ever thought about, well, if they're commerce, then that would be about a merchandise or a contract or something, It's a good question to ask. They can't be both. But they think that because they're doing commerce, that what we're supposed to do is join them with that. Never thinking about what it is that they have that they're doing commerce with,
Exactly.
Right? Would it be wrong? Would it be wrong? Would it be wrong to say that they're assuming the natural being is signing up for the license as the merchandise, or as the product to be, for finance or revenue to be generated off of? Shall I say?
No, because everybody says that the license is the contract. So if the license is the contract, what's the merchandise?
Right. But
If I go to a Department of Motor Vehicle, and I enter into some alleged business, and the contract is the license, what is the merchandise? And I don't use, and I'm not, usually I would say, it would be a merchandise would have to be like a product or a service. But in a case like this, all right, service doesn't apply, because in law, service, if they're providing a service, everything must be disclosed. Number one, and you can't be made, you can't be forced to engage in a service. You can't be. It's no longer a service.
Right.
But
so would the merchandise be the license itself then?
No, because everybody has this presumption that the license is the contract.
Mm.
So that's why everybody, I'm going to send them their contract back. I'm going to send them their instrument back. The instrument represents the contract. But if that's the contract, then what's the merchandise?
But if that was true, then they would be excuse me, they would be selling your rights.
Well, they can't sell the. Okay, so
I know
are
they
we
can't.
saying? Well,
right.
Are we saying a merchandise has to be something that, like the TV, I can touch it.
Tangible.
Exactly, it's got to be tangible. I can pick up some wood and whittle it into the shape of something. That's merchandise. My shoes, that's merchandise. Clothes, books. That's all of that is merchandise.
Right. So it's clear that if you believe that they're doing commerce, the question you need to ask is, what's the merchandise that they're
What
doing
is the
commerce?
merchandise? What is the merchandise? So with that, what I would like to do, please, I would like to open up the phone lines, and I'm hoping that we have some people who can, this is just some food for thought. There are no right or wrong answers. All right? We just want people to think, and if you come up with an answer, press 1 on your telephone dial, and let's hear what your answer is. All right? So with that, let's see. We got I thought I saw somebody from like the very beginning with. I guess they. All right. Okay. Caller 619-201. You're live on the air. Are you going to be answering the question? Islam, caller 619-201. All righty. Call 513-227. You're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwestern Maxim.
Islam. This is Sister Jayana. I was calling. Peace.
All right.
I was calling about the question, and there is no merchandise, but I just wanted to add something because I don't know. I was just doing some studies today, and I just feel like this will go with it. Since there is no merchandise, and since they continue to enforce these unknown, unseen contracts on the people, then there has to be something going on. And so what I looked in United Nations, they had a convention against organized crime. So the only thing that I can say is there is nothing going on but an organized criminals, and they're acting as if they have some type of service to provide to the people, and when they don't. So I just wanted to read this in Article 2 of the United Nations Convention Against Organized Crime. It says, for the purpose of this convention, an organized criminal group shall mean a structured group of 3 or more persons existing for a period of time and acting in a concert with the aim of committing one or more serious crimes or offenses established in accordance with this convention in order to obtain directly or indirectly a financial or other material benefit or gain. So, yeah, that's it. That's all that's going on. Organized crime.
Right.
No merchandise.
All right. All right. All right. Well, thank you so much for that. Caller 57143. Oh, geez. Woo.
Was that me?
No, that was caller 571-439. I was trying to unmute you so that we can hear your comment, but there's like so much static or whatever that sound is that I had to mute you back. So I'm going to try one more time, and then I'm going to have to take the next caller.
Okay, yeah, that was my Bluetooth I had in my ear. Does it sound better now?
Yes.
Yeah, I am Najib Bey, and I wanted to answer that question. The merchandise, from what I'm seeing from listening and studying, the merchandise is the people that contract with these corporations. Because if you notice, they supply you with a Social Security card, they supply you with a birth certificate, and so you've been, I don't want to go into the whole spiel of it, just let people just go study, but still, that so-called birth certificate with your name, a.k.a. no man, we have appellations, but they give us what they call a name, and that really means no man. So you put yourself as being that merchandise, kind of like if you're at a grocery store and a truck comes and delivers 5 cups of coffee. On that sheet of paper, it has 5 cups of coffee. It's going to be delivered. And who's ever receiving it says, okay, there's 5 cups of coffee. Let me see those 5 cups of coffee. And who's ever delivering it shows them those 5 cups of coffee, and they sign the contract. They call it something else, a delivery sheet or whatever, and then the business is done. So my answer to that, I heard you say there might not be a right or wrong answer, but what it is, it's the people. We're being tricked and we're being fooled because, number one, we don't study and we get comfortable with somebody else doing things for us. And I'm just going to leave it at that. And I do appreciate you sisters and you brothers putting out the information and letting people hear exactly what's going on. And with that, I'm going to yield the call. And again, I thank you.
Wait a minute now. Wait a minute, because I just want to ask you if the people is the merchandise, then how can the people be the one to initiate the contract and at the same time be the merchandise?
That's where the trickery comes in. They're getting you to be, let me see how I can put it. They're getting you to act upon things. Like usually when you go to court, they say certain things like, it's a court, because a court is really a stage. And so,
okay, but what court? What kind of a court? What court? Because most people have never been in a court. They've been in a hearing room.
Right. What most people think as being a court.
Okay, so
because you're go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I apologize.
No, go ahead. Finish your thought.
No, go ahead.
I said finish your thought.
Well, what I was saying, because you're studied and you know, so there's certain words that you get. Just like, and I'll use this as an example, the word gay, G-A-Y. My father was born in 1936. That word to him simply means happy. But if me and him were having a conversation, he said, "Son, I am gay." And some of the younger people pass by and hear that conversation, most likely they may think that he's saying that he's a homosexual. And that's not what it is. Because the words that are being taught in the dictionary definitions, or the definitionary definitions, are being changed up, people just don't get it. And most people just don't know what they don't know. If you can comprehend what I'm saying.
The merchandise. That would make that outright human trafficking.
What's going on?
Exactly.
That's what's happening. Right before our faces. Right
well,
in front of
it's not right before our faces. I will say this. I completely comprehend why this happened. I do. I completely comprehend how we got here and why it happened and why it continues to happen. Because too many people, their concepts are 1,000% incorrect. They don't know that government is synonymous with family. They want to create new stuff under I don't know what authority, as opposed to embracing our ancient foremothers and forefathers and enforcing the law that is the law of the land, which is in harmony with universal law. We haven't even begun to scratch the surface of what our ancestors maintained, documented for modern Europeans as well as to preserve for us going forward, because they knew we were going to lose it. So it wasn't so much that they were writing it down for the modern Europeans. They were writing it down for us because they knew we was going to go into this mental amnesia. So you got people who are running around here and they're constantly talking about business. You can never, for me, you can never, ever, ever convince me that my birthright is a business. And we're going to go negotiate for it. If more people would stop with the wannabe, the movers and shakers up on the imaginary Wall Street doing business with the modern Europeans who are raping you every day, if they would let that go, we would be in a totally better place. But
right.
People won't let it go. They want to take it. Look, that's like getting beat up every day. Every day. And you know you're going to get beat up tomorrow. So you sit down with your attacker and you negotiate, well, you hit me on the right side. Don't hit me on the right side tomorrow. Hit me on the left side. I took enough beating on the right side. Can we do that?
I mean, Sister Mother, you are so correct. You are so correct.
It's crazy.
Yes, it is.
It's so crazy. And you know what? The prophet said, I'm not coming after you. I'm just speaking in general. The The prophet said, and I said this at the beginning of this broadcast, the prophet said, draw a circle around your passions and square up your conduct, because he knew that people come, they move. It doesn't look, we got a bunch of people that claim to have been moving from out underneath of the allegiance to the United States of America, which was established in 1774 for the modern Europeans, all right? That was never established for the Moors. The Moors anciently have Morocco, the Moorish Empire. That's our ancient lineage. When you talk about linking back foremothers and your forefathers, there's a reason you've got to link back to the ancestors, to the ancient ones, because if you link back to the ancient ones and you move forward, it is lineal descendant verified heir to the vast estate. You want to create something today and talk about this is it? What are you linked to anciently? What is your lineal descent line anciently? The protection when it comes to everything is an inheritance. Our inheritance goes back thousands of eons, not even years. So if we want to build on a firm foundation that's been here long before all of this, we got to go back. That's why the prophet said go back to our foremothers and our forefathers. He said draw a circle around your passion, square up your conduct, because if you coming at this from ego, you're going to fall. That's a slippery foundation. And these modern Europeans, oh my God, they know more about us than we do. So when they see you coming and you shucking and jiving, ready for you with the 1-2 punch. Because they what?
I ain't heard shucking and jiving in a long time. I'm very glad. And my brother, thank you so much for that comment. Because, I want to move on to our next caller. But I thank you so much for putting that on the table.
And what you were saying is so correct. And I do apologize again because I was up in the place that they call St. Louis, Missouri, and I was able to visit that place that Dred Scott. And I went in there and just started looking at some of the pictures and some of the things that were going on. So I had to ask myself a question. If things took place the way they said they took place, we looking at these people, this Dred Scott and his wife Harriet, how were they able to do some of the things that they were able to do if they didn't know, the things they knew? And also here in this corporation that they call Louisiana, another corporation, sub-corporation called Shreveport that I'm domiciling at, there was a man named C.C. Anton. He was lieutenant governor during the so-called Civil War, and he was able to write Shreveport in as a corporation that was named after another man named Shreve. He was a boat captain or a ship captain. And I just asked that question all the time. It took place the way it said it took place. Why is it that when you go back and start studying, start looking at physical things, because I was able to go to the so-called courthouse and look up property that was my great-grandmother, and she was, on the record, it said that she was a white man. And I'm thinking, what is it? That was before I start listening to the calls and studying the RVBey publications, but it was something that she knew to keep property and an allodial title. And it's all coming to me, and I'm still studying and I'm still learning, but everything's coming to fruition. And I'm like, wow, everything that you all are saying, I'm like, wow. Because when I first started listening, I said, man, they full of it. But then I just kept doing it, and I started just seeing things come to fruition. And I'm going to leave it at that, and I apologize for taking up too much time, but thank y'all again.
Oh, you did not do that. You did not do that. But I thank you so much for calling in and sharing. I wanted people to call in and share, but I wasn't sure if people would do it, only because I don't want them to quite frequently people think that there's a right and a wrong answer, and there isn't.
That's
so thank you so much for calling in and sharing.
All right, much success to everybody.
All right, peace and love. All right. Let me see. I gotta find Cujo because he just dropped off. He dropped off. And Cujo, if you call back in, press 1 so I can find you. And let me see. All right. Next caller is.
But he texted me and said he was going to be coming up.
Oh, all right.
Yeah,
right.
That's what he said. Mm-hmm.
All right, so our next caller is caller 856-540. 856-540, your live. Peace and love.
Peace and love. Western Nexum, peace to the family. Cujo, Mizraim, Anna E, and Rosmara.
Cool.
Peace. Just wanted to add on real quick. How in short, I'm going to say that the merchandises become the people, because once people are not clear on the contract, that gives these pseudo officers and the pseudo government the ability to utilize the people's energy at that time.
All right. So if the people, so you're saying that a contract was written up by two parties, and
right.
One of the party agreed to be the merchandise?
Yes.
Okay, let me give you a scenario. But let me just give you a scenario that can kind of bring this, because the last brother also brought that out. And you know what? I knew somebody was going to say this. What you're saying is, I went to Walmart, and the TV and Walmart executives entered into a contract. TV agreed to be the merchandise that Walmart, flesh and blood being, contracted with and agreed to sell. The merchandise can't be the merchandise can't be a party to the contract. It's the merchandise.
Correct.
So if you're saying, okay, this is what I'm trying to get people to think. Because, see, everybody always thinks that there's some business going on. Business requires there to be a contract. If there's a contract, there's got to be merchandise. If there is no merchandise, something else is going on, and it cannot be business. And there cannot be contract. Because if the merchandise, this is an impossibility. The merchandise cannot be a party to the contract because the merchandise has to be a fixed item.
Okay.
And it cannot be, okay, and if it is a flesh and blood being, then that's not business, that's human trafficking.
Human trafficking, right. And I guess that's what I was trying to convey, that but because the humans that are attempting to, say, conduct business by saying go get an instrument, driver's license, social, birth certificate, what have you, if they're not clear on the contract, then they don't realize that they're voluntarily waiving those rights, which, kind of folds them into being how they would say liable for that contract.
Say that again.
The person becomes liable for the contract when the party is not clear on what the contract is. So
all right,
go ahead.
But if the merchandise, there's an allegation here that the merchandise is a party to the contract. That's an impossibility. Therefore,
correct.
This can't be business, and there can be no contract. Meaning this
correct.
is not business, this is not commerce, there is no contract. If people, the prophet said, if I can get you to thinking, you free yourself. If this is not commerce, if this is not business, and if there is no contract, then what is this? You said it already. It's human trafficking. Right. All right, so if it is human trafficking, it falls under worldwide hate crimes. All right?
Mm-hmm.
This is an international issue. If we can get out of trying to classify ourselves as merchandise where there is some commerce business contract going on, that's all fraud. If we can let that go and go after the real issue, which is human trafficking, then we can bring a world-class suit or world-class attention, because they're synonymous, to this issue that is affecting the Aboriginal indigenous people of the land. This is not business. There is no commerce, and I am not merchandise. This is straight-up birthright theft.
Right.
That's human trafficking. That's human bondage. That's slavery. Now, let me just say this, and I'm hoping I can find it as quickly as possible, because I want to read to people, because, see, Section 12 of the original 13th Amendment is very, very, what's the word? Oh, my God. What is the word I'm looking for? It is like a double-edged sword, right? Because if this is human trafficking, right, would that not then be also slavery?
Of course.
Yeah, right? Well,
genocide
let's look at
level.
It's slavery. Let's just say it's genocide. Let's just say it's slavery. Well, let's look and see what the original 13th Bill of Rights says about slavery. Because, see, people don't know this. If people would think, they would see just how much power our ancestors left us. All right? So the original 13th Bill of Rights, Section 12, this is what it reads. I want people to listen, pay attention. The traffic in slaves with Africa is hereby forever prohibited, pain of death and the forfeiture of all the rights and property of persons engaged therein, and the descendants of Africans shall not be citizens of the United States of America. This is what it says. But here is the meat. I mean, the whole that's strong. That's like black coffee with a shot of espresso. It's so strong it will grow hair on your chest. The traffic in slaves with Africa is hereby forever prohibited on pain of death. All of these for-profit prisons are engaging in slavery. Every employee of a municipal corporation is engaging in slavery. How dare you take to the Aboriginal people of this land that they need to sit down and negotiate this, and dare you when the Constitution says the traffic in slaves with Africa is hereby forever prohibited on pain of death. That's not an E. This is straight out of the Congressional Globe, April 8th. All right?
That's right.
April 8th. This is not an E, personal opinion. This is straight from the Congressional Globe. And then it says, and the forfeiture of all the rights and property of persons engaged therein. Pain of death and forfeiture of all rights and property of the person engaged in acts of slavery. And you want to negotiate with an attorney and talk about this is commerce and business and there's a contract? That's crazy. That's madness. You see how strong that is?
Yes.
And we run around here trying to negotiate. We need to enforce the Constitution. That's what Prophet Noble Drew Ali said for us to do. He said it would be our salvation. It would be our protection. Declaring your nationality, that's your salvation. What is your nationality? You're a Moor. You're Moroccan. What is it? You're a Moorish American. I wish I had my 101 in front of me. Oh, I think I do. Yes, I do. This 101, man, it's just a couple of pages, but it's absolutely deep. Why are we Moorish Americans? Do anybody know? Because we're descendants of Moroccans born in America. That's number 14, right? And the 101. Then it says, where is it? What is the modern name for the Moabites? Moroccans. Where is the Moroccan Empire? Northwest of Maxim. What is the modern name for a Maxim? Africa.
That's right.
This is our lineal descent. This information helps you to get clear what your lineal descent line is and why you need to be proud of it and you need to hold it tight instead of trying to cast it away for something that somebody made up last night. This is deep stuff. And especially if it's made up by a son. Come on. Did the son come out of another son or did he come out of a mother? You are a Moabite because your mother is the Moabite. Not because the son is a Moabite. The son came out of the Moabite. Let's get clear.
That's right. Mother make man while man make books.
Yeah. But see, and what you're speaking of when you're talking those terms, a Maxim, Morocco, right out of the 101, you actually have some people who claim to study those things and don't get it. You know, they'll rebuke the word of maximum. They'll because they really haven't read what is being said. You know, they haven't studied.
Yes, that's right. Let me tell you, some things I just can't say on this air. Some things is from my mouth to somebody else's ear, but it's not for public airing. I am so clear. Look, the prophet said, you better learn by signs and symbols. There's so many signs and symbols circling around us at any given time, moment, second. What's another word for time? We were talking about this the other day. Cycle. All right? There's so many signs and symbols circling around us. People need to pay attention. People need to stop listening to all this yakety yak from people who are running from ego, really. And you need to sit down. You need to pull out your birth chart. You need to study it. You need to study the Constitution. You need to study, and you need to stay in those books, because in study, it will help you to see the signs and the symbols that are all around you. And if you're constantly yakety-yakking with somebody else, you're going to miss the sign and end up on the scrap heap. Really, because that's all there is. Look, we're in the time of justice and retribution justice. This is the time of retribution justice, all right? This is not the time to be playing. This is not the time to be getting your ego stroked so that you can feel good, because guess what? In a minute, Mother Nature is going to push you to the left, because you're not fulfilling your life purpose. And that purpose is to know you. Not somebody else, it's to know you. That takes a lot of work. Let me tell you how much work it takes. I have been looking at my astrology chart for years. And whenever I feel even a little bit lost or out of sync, I pull that chart out and I start looking at it again, because I need to get grounded. And that's, for me, that's how I get grounded. Everybody needs to have something, whether it's studying your chart, studying law, studying the prophet's work. You need to have something that's going to help you get grounded, because if you don't, and this is this, look, everybody, we've been under the mental conditioning of modern Europeans where they tell you, go and buddy up in groups and study. That's not going to help you. Tell you this. That's not going to help you. That's going to blow people out of the water, because some people learn quick, some people need to take their time. And the slow people are going to get frustrated with the quick people, and the quick people is going to get frustrated with the slow people. Sit your behind at home and take your time, fast or slow, and study and contemplate. Learn to be by yourself. Learn to sit quietly with zero distractions and turn over in your head what you just read, what you've been studying for a week, because that's how your spirit is going to start speaking to you and telling you what your life purpose is. That is not quick. It's not going to happen quick. That's going to only happen when you're ready. You can't fool yourself. You know, there's a Bible quote that says, God will not be mocked. And there's also, you can't put new wine in old skin. You can't. A bad tree can't bear good fruit, and a good tree can't bear bad fruit. All that means is you might think you're fooling other people, but you can't fool yourself, and that's what it's all about. The universe is never going to open up and pour new wine into you when you're sitting there with old crap that you're holding on to. You're never going to get the new wine. You're never going to be able to bear good fruit while you got all that bad crap that modern Europeans put in you mentally, not until you get rid of it, and vice versa. All of these is things to wake us up, to make us reflect, to get out of the ego zone, find ourselves. Nobody can find you for you. You can only find yourself. Your homeboy or your homegirl, they're distractions. Love them, but leave them alone, because you got to get you right. Hope they get themselves right. But you know what? This is an individual journey. I'm not here to save nobody. I've said this before. I have found information, and I don't want to take the information to the grave with me, so I will speak and share it with people, and you can do with it what you so choose to. But I'm not trying to save nobody. I'm only trying to save Anna E, because I'm the only one that can put stuff in my head and take it out, you can never take it out, but I can put so much information into my own brain that it dilutes the crap that's already there. I'm the only one that can do that, and I can only do it for me. I can talk until I'm blue in the face at somebody else, but until they do it for themselves, I'm wasting my time. So everybody needs to take their study serious, because that's your obligation, that's your responsibility, it's nobody else's. Islam?
Islam.
And thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that call, son. And we'll talk again.
Islam, thank you, family.
All righty.
Now, what happens, Sister Annie, when people, when we don't take that time to really take it seriously and study? Then, when a process does come, or a procedure or whatever does come that is good, right, and exact, sufficient. You had mentioned, we had this conversation about how these people know that are trying to keep us under this oppressed state. They know that it's only a matter of time before one of ourselves will screw that process up.
Yeah.
They don't even have to do anything.
That's right. That's right. That was another thing. We talked about that earlier today, because, everybody thinks that the modern European is after us. It's not the modern Europeans that are after us. It's our own people. Because, for example, we have put together this name correction proclamation. And I was talking with Roz earlier today, and I said, this is a scenario. We put together this name correction proclamation process, and we made it available with instructions for the people and for their edification. You get a modern European, they find out about this process, they go run to the big boss man, and they say, yo, the Moor's got a name correction and proclamation process. It looks pretty good. What do you think? They're going to be on vacation chilling and turn around and say, don't worry about it. History has proven that one of their own is going to go out and duplicate the same thing and totally screw it up, and they'll never get off the ground. Have a good day and hang up the phone. Don't worry. They don't have to worry about we we undermine our own attempts at giving people information so that, or even putting together a process that can assist people in their desire to declare their nationality. Because, see, declaring is about being clear. That begins with you. And by the way, I would suggest, and we're going to put this on the website, once you complete that name correction or proclamation, don't do nothing. Don't make no changes. Get your Black's Law 4th edition dictionary. Get your unabridged prior to 1965 dictionary. Get your etymology dictionary. Sit down and look up every single word in that 7-page document that is the name correction and the proclamation. Don't do nothing. Don't change nothing until you do that. That's called study. But we already know. Look, I am talking about Moors. I'm talking about our ancient family. I'm talking about it right now. You got people in the chat room tell you about your newly constructed government. Newly constructed government. People don't even know what government means. Government and family is synonymous. We have nothing new. We are ancient people. The prophet says,
go back to the mindset of the ancient foremothers and forefathers.
Thank you. Go back to your ancient foremothers and forefathers, not your mother and father of yesterday, not your mother and father of last night, because some of these grand cheeky deaky guys, they want to be your daddy of last night without your permission. All right? And how are they going to be your daddy when, look, your mother is your mother and father. The son can only be the son. We got to get this thing in order. And as long as we are trying to create new stuff, as long as we undermine each other's processes that have been put out with good intent, okay, because it's all about intent. I hear echo. As long as it's been put out with good intent, then we should be thankful that somebody put something in place and let us all utilize that. Because why? There's so many other issues that needs to be addressed. We don't need 50,000 people creating a name correction and proclamation process. One is sufficient. There's other things that need to be addressed. We got people sitting in prison for years, haven't even come to a so-called trial. Deal with that. We got people who are paying utilities and the resources come out of the land. Deal with that. We got people who are just, by themselves dealing with this kidnapping of the baby. Deal with that. Look, we got people and we don't even have any type of healing facility for us. Oriental people don't go to them institutions, they go hospitals. They might go there and get a job, but they don't go there. They got their healing facilities in their community. Same thing with the Hindustanis. Or the so-called, the people that got classified as Middle Eastern, we're the only people, Moors, we don't have no healing facility. Nobody has taken the initiative to establish that. We don't even know what is the average normal blood pressure for an Asiatic person? What is the average normal temperature for an Asiatic person? What is the an average normal blood count for an Asiatic. We don't know none of that stuff. It's not documented. It's nowhere. What is the average blood type for an Asiatic person? We don't know none of that stuff because we so caught up in the modern Europeans. And the modern Europeans, they all about undermining. I guess we got that lesson very well. But it's a lesson we need to let go. So with that, I think I might yield the floor.
Well said. Well said.
So let's take this other caller. Caller 352-509. You are live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwest Maxim.
Islam family, this is RVBey at Northwest Maxim. And first, I would like to thank you, Mother. And I hear you talking about the Chapter 2 sons. I want to talk about the Chapter 2 mothers, and that is you and Mother Roz. And I want to say thank you, and I appreciate this venue and vehicle that you have put together to get us back in touch with our righteous and divine minds. Thank you, and thank you. Chapter 2 says that the mothers must teach your sons, and y'all have been teaching us from day one. And Mother Annie, I want to thank you for your faithfulness, because, wow, your record speaks for itself. But to go back from the top of the programming this evening, the presidential selection, if people would just follow the news, Mr. Trump was tweeting, and he told the people it was rigged. He himself said that. The oral statements in the prophecy says, the prophet says, watch the news, because I'm going to make the Europeans tell you the truth. What is a poll? If we do the study, we know. I mean, there's Gallup polls. All of these are telling basically what people's opinion are. But again, the prophet already told us if he could get us to think. So thank you for inspiring us to think. We need it. What is man? Man is mind. What is mind? Mind is that generative organ that creates thoughts. The prophet came to teach us to be ourselves, and if we would be ourselves, if we would be men as we are, if we would think, which is what mind does, we would be free. We were born to be free. Just be that. But like you said earlier, Mother, that astrological chart is serious, and Spirit spoke to me just yesterday, and when you said it tonight, I knew it was a confirmation. My astrological birth chart is my contract. That is what I am here to do this cycle around, and you are so absolutely correct if we study that. But when we study that, we will see ourselves, and it's like looking in the mirror, and there are sometimes I don't like what I see. But when I don't like what I see, I have the option of changing it. And we're being forced to make changes right now. And a lot of us, we're kicking and screaming. We don't want to change. We want to stay the same. But the universe is not having it. We must change because this is a new day as, again, back to the Moorish literature, the mysteries of the silent brotherhood of the East, which it says right on the front, the higher degrees for Circle 7. So if you got your lesson from Circle 7, come to the next lesson. And it says that this is a new age. And this new age is an age that is calling for liberty when each man is a priest. And I heard Brother Miz touch on it earlier. These magistrates, they are priests. But when we come into this new age and tap into this mind frame that we are supposed to be operating in, we will begin to know and understand, yes, you are the priest, and you ought to be following the dictates of your soul. As it tells us in the Circle 7 Holy Quran, follow the dictates of your soul, and the outcome will always be right. But anyway, enough of the rant. Back onto the question that you posed. Powerful question. And I have to say, it's fraud. That's all that I see going on is a fraud. And I really don't want to dig deep in it, but I will tell the people, grab the Black's Law Dictionary. Look at the definition of fraud. It's about a page and a half. And it tells you what fraud is. And if you look at that, you will know exactly what's going on with the driving instrument and what they are doing. From my personal opinion, my Moorish perspective, it is proof positive of human trafficking, as is the birth certificate. And again, I don't really want to dig too deep into it, but grab that same Black's Law Dictionary, look up what a certificate is, and follow those words out. One definition will lead you to another definition, will lead you to another definition. Connect the dots. Draw the picture. Color it in. See it clearly. This is science, yes, but it's not rocket science. It's simple because simplicity is the key. And to support that statement that simplicity is the key, I like to reference what we know as the Dogon tribe. Those of our family who lived in what we call mud huts, but yet had some of the most involved scientific secrets, because simplicity is the key. So, Mother, I agree with you. It's a fraud that's going on, but like the Matrix movie told us, the humans are batteries. A human body generates, according to that, 120 volts. If we could fully comprehend what our true value is, if mothers will wake up and snatch their children out of these institutions that are poisoning their minds, because we are the batteries, the simple fact that we took them out of those institutions, they would collapse instantly because they need your energy to operate. But again, that's me and my personal Moorish perspective. But one more thing. When we read the Bibliotheliotech, which is full of allegories that are so profound, it tells us that we must come as a child. You must be born again. Look at some of these children's movies and these children's cartoons and see what is being said. There's one called The Emperor's New Clothes. And as the prophet has already told us, he came for the young and the yet unborn. And the reason why I see that is so powerful, in The Emperor's New Clothes, all of those adults saw what was going on and saw that man marching up and down the street stark naked, and nobody had the intestinal fortitude to tell him he was naked, but it was a little child. And I see it the same way. It's this next, or as it says on RVBey publications, on that wonderful online university, this is for the rising generation. This is civics for the rising generation. These young Moors that are coming in with their eyes wide open, and I do mean wide open. I had the wonderful opportunity of watching a Moorish son come into this plane with his eyes wide open, and it was absolutely amazing. But these are the ones that are going to turn this all around. And again, Mother, thank you. Mother, thank you. Thank you for what you are doing. Please keep up the good work.
It's love. It's love. Thank you. I want to add, too, you brought in fraud, and it's interesting. You told everyone to look it up. And here's an interesting thing. Fraud also means, in its definition, fraud is silent when there is a duty to speak. And, you know, if someone is supposedly in a judicial capacity, they have a duty and obligation. So if they say nothing and watch this go down, then that is also what fraud is. It means silent. That's exactly what you find when you read the definition of fraud. Now, the problem is, one of the problems is, and I heard Anna Eve mention it in the chat room, here we're having this national principles broadcast, and you got people calling into the chat room trying to get the ears of the people in the chat room or whoever will listen to them to talk about how they're starting a new government. They have no idea what trap they're in. They have no idea that it's not. This is the trap. Oh, we're going to start something new. No, get real. Let's get real. We can't even effectuate that which has been given to save our existing nation. We can't, and it's easy. It's easier to do that. As the prophet said, I've given you enough to save a nation, an entire nation. All I'm asking you to do is go out and save yourself. And you brought up the mysteries of the Brotherhood of the East, where it says this new day and time you must make priest of yourself. That means you must know. You know, if you fail to follow that, you're forced to do it now. So if you really look at it, the people need to realize that they will be better off enforcing that which is already existing. This is our mothers and fathers have set up so that we will not be molested by these other citizens. You'll be in a better place to enforce that than to try to start something new. That is very clear. When what is already here, you can't follow those directions. How are you going to start something new? And you can't start something new anyway because the nation already exists. Government is family. Government is family. That's what nationhood is. So whoever thinks they're going to go start something new, they have just walked down the trap. Islam. Oh, and Ms., I know you're there. The brother also mentioned here about watching the news and watching these things, and I think it was last night we were talking about, it was funny, but it's not funny, how every now and then these people put on TV or whatever, the news, they let us know this thing is a real big joke. In case you didn't think that it was or you didn't know that it was, they let you know that it's a joke with some of the stuff that they actually said. For instance, in this broadcast, when we brought up that everyone went and spend all their energy, go vote, go make a difference. You're not voting, you're going to the polls. The polls means an opinion. So now it's clear, it ought to be clear to everyone, their opinion didn't really matter. It was just a poll just to see where they were. So all of these things are coming into obvious fruition. Now, if there's some people who still don't get it, then I guess it's not meant for them to get it. They got to be wiped away at this point, as I suppose. Islam.
Yeah. And we were saying that based off of what's left on the halls of quote-unquote modern history, if you will, the U.S.A. Corporation. Because every now and then they give you an actor just to let you know that, this is all, it's crazy, it's a joke. And then when you understand or understand person is a face mask in law, and in fact, and etymologically, it's like they're showing you, the different faces of this game that they playing. And we was talking about it. It was Reagan, right? Was it Reagan or Nixon? Pardon me, because that was before my era. But one of them was the answer, right?
Both of them really, but Reagan was an actor.
Yeah. All right. And then they gave you Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah. Right? We know etymologically Schwartz is black and nigger is nigger, so Arnold black nigger. This is who they told you was the governor, and I might be missing a host of other people, don't get me wrong. But I'm just saying that, it starts to look like every now and then they let you know it's a joke. You know what I mean? This is not, there's something else going on. It's not real. It has nothing to do with us as a people, I would say, except for that relation they try to have is parasite, and attached to us as the host. And I say that, collectively as a people, because that's what colonists do. That's what leeches or vampires or the Democrats do. It's just leech on. So they need the host, which is the people in the land. And I just say that to say that, correlating back to the license, they've made a whole industry off of that concept that, people, their actions or lack thereof have become a monopoly. No different than they sell and trade cows, chickens, things like that. They like people could get it too. So, what you see is you might go to acquire a license and that happening, there's a whole bunch of adhesion things that you don't even know about that go on. And there's been a lot of things brought to light on this platform itself where brothers are saying that, they missed the child support payment, and their license got suspended, and they ended up in jail. So you can see that it's a lineage or conspiracy, shall I say, not a conspiracy theory, like actual facts. They're conspiring, which again goes back to color of law, color of authority, fraud, all of that, to do the people undue harm. Like I said before, you got, in these days, people are leaning on the European codes or the Christian codes, even though they're not calling them Christian codes. But all of those statues and things like that, that's Christian code. So they're leaning on that, and they don't understand the connection to everything as far as the instruments they create. And I'll be posting a little 5-minute news clip, and I'm going to call it Caveat Emptor, because there's a lot of crazy stuff going on with the driver's license. They made a whole shadow background industry where they're selling people's information, all right, in multiple different quasi-national domiciles and, commonly called states. But, real talk, that's what they're doing. So they get the information and they're selling it to private corporations. And this is how you get calls from different, institutions that you never gave your information to or anything like that. So it is an industry, It is an industry off of that. But, yeah, with that, I yield the floor. Islam.
All right. Caller is Brother Bakari. Islam.
Hey, good evening. Good evening.
Islam.
Oh, man. That was a juicy question. Well, first of all, honors to everyone. And, yeah, that was a excellent question, and I better get my mind right here, so excuse me. Okay, in reference to the contract, the question, I believe, was one of the questions that you'd asked earlier in reference to the driver's license being a contract.
Mm-hmm.
And man, that is something that I have thought about for quite some time. And I think that that's one of the questions, and I would say this respectfully to everyone that is in earshot, but I would ask that this be put on the table in reference to the driver's license, and that one of the questions, that's definitely one of the questions that need to be asked about the driver's license, and it certainly speaks to knowledge, and it speaks to where you're at and what state of mind that you're in. How much information you have about history here on this continent. And then when you start looking into definitions, that can make it more confusing for some people, because their whole life they've been under a certain belief system run by the very same corporation that's listed on the instrument that is given to you. And so, this is a diabolical tool in my estimation. So, however, to answer the whether or not it is in fact a contract, I think that it is. I would respectfully submit that it is in fact a contract, and that's strictly not off of my opinion, but rather some of the components of what a contract, of what is, in fact are the components of a contract. So you first have to have gosh, I just drew a blank. Okay, so you first have to have offer, consideration, acceptance, and then mutuality. And so now then then you'd have to look at what requires written contracts. Like, what are some of the requirements of a written contract? Because this would, in fact, imply that it is, in fact, a written contract, as there is writing on it. And so the institution, the company that this contract is associated with, was a company that was instituted by a foreign entity to this land, which is extremely important, and why this contract, which is another question that should be asked, is why isn't this contract reflecting your nationality? Because if this contract is being issued by foreigners on foreign soil, their foreign soil actually, then anything that they submit to anyone should clearly have something to do with nationality. And so you can look at this thing many different ways about what is and what should be and what isn't there and all that kind of stuff. But I think that when you look at some of these documents or some of these instruments, there's writing on it. Like, if you were, like, when I flipped and looked at the reverse side of mine, or rather the one that was issued to me, because it certainly isn't mine, it says Class R, any motor vehicle with a GVWR of less than 26,000 labels as a single unit or in combination designed to carry 15 or fewer passengers, including the driver, and does not carry hazardous material. And so it further asks you to consider, for more information on organ or tissue donation, please contact this website, et cetera, et cetera. Then on the other side, it has a corporate seal of the corporate state. So when you are issued this thing, you're saying that you're going to be driving as opposed to traveling under these certain restrictions. Not only that corporate state that this card is being issued under, whoever is doing it, the implication is that that corporate state is going to be following certain rules, guidelines, and codes, etc., in reference to your driving on the roads, on the highways and byways, because that's the only place that you can travel or drive. So furthermore, that would certainly mean that you're taking that into consideration, you've accepted it, and there's mutuality in terms of what's going to be given for what and, what's going to be received. So now you have the ability to now be a member of this, corporation, doing whatever it is that you are doing, and it's implying that you are a driver working for that corporation, period. Now, certainly you can break this down and look at it in many different layers, because not only are you using this instrument to show that you are a member or that you're going to be following certain guidelines, and some of these guidelines are made by implication. So when you're referring to classes like Class R and Class F and C and D and all these other classes for different types of drivers, that's assuming that you have gone through some process to make you knowledgeable on the said class, etc. So it then has your likeness on it. So just in a short brief, not to take up too much time, when I look at this instrument, it has a seal. That seal falls under a certain corporation. That corporation then falls under a certain governmental structure. Now, whether it's de jure or de facto is not the issue at this point. What is, in fact, the issue is that it has certain rules, stipulations, guidelines, etc., that it's following. You not being aware of that as the Aboriginal indigenous person / autochthonous person, natural person rather, is something that they're using without what is known as the individual being in the right state of mind when a contract has been drawn up. That's not being taken into consideration. That's obvious. What's also not being taken into consideration is the hundreds of years where your foremothers and forefathers were removed forcibly from their own land. So that's not being taken into consideration. And then the corporate institutions that you go to receive education, to learn about your ancestry, has been wiped from the slate. It's no longer on the curriculum. So any way that you look at this is fraud. I yield the floor.
Oh, well, you know what? We misunderstood you because we thought it is fraud. So if it's fraud, that means it's void. So it's not a contract. It's a void contract if it were one. So we thought you were saying that it was a contract because it really failed. First you would, and Annie, I know you know a lot more about the details of this, but first of all, it's a program from the Department of Transportation. It is not something that is established and or originated from any state. They're just administering a program from the Department of Transportation, and the guidelines that you're talking about are really from Title 49, I think it is, and all of those guidelines. 49. Yeah, all of those guidelines apply to the states that are administering it. They don't apply to the natural person. So they don't show you Title 49. They don't show you Title 49. But
I would respectfully submit that I comprehend that. But this is part of the trickery in this whole system, because what they'll say is, okay, and they can say this very in a very sly way. Well, this is their government. Or rather, by them being the descendants of colonists and pilgrims who were given the ability to colonize territories, that they have the ability to fly the seal of the corporate state, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, yes, it is fraud, but then when you look at the deception, it does meet some of the criteria of what a contract of whether or not a contract exists, or the components of a contract.
But that would be truth and falsehood strangely mixed, because like you mentioned colonization. But colonization was deemed as to be terminated. When was that, Anna Eve? You have the congressional record on that, right? I can't remember. Decolonization?
I want to say 1946, 48. Mm-hmm. I have to pull it. I have to go look for it. But go ahead. I'll say it when you're done.
No, you don't have to look for. You don't have to look for that. I just knew that was the case. So that eliminates that foundation and or reasoning. And the real deal is that it does. In a way, you're right. It doesn't matter what they do in their house.
1960.
Okay. All right. So it doesn't really matter what they do in their little private little sector or house. They are on your ancestral estate with a rule of law to follow. But going back to whether or not that's a contract, it's truth and falsehood strangely mixed, because people tacitly agree now. Now, why do they tacitly agree? Because they've been, like you said, they've been going to institutions that have convinced them through education or so-called education that in order for them to get behind a conveyance, turn the key, and travel the highways, they must have it. Yeah. And see, the only ones that must have it are those who are actually driving. You and I are exercising our and enjoying our rights to travel, which are two different babies here. And we have to be with the right baby. Driving is for those who are doing commerce. The regulation, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, because I know you have read a lot of them, are for those, like, for instance, if you're driving and carrying, and I'm going to put this in its right perspective for us to know what side, what baby we're on. If you're carrying passengers, cargo, people's, stuff from one place to the other, you do not need to be drunk while you're doing that. There's a liability. But does that mean that because I'm a natural person, it's all right for me to be drunk behind the wheel? No. Why? What is the rule of law regarding that? And the moral regarding that is that you and I and everyone else owes nothing to the public, including any states, that owe nothing more than due care. So now we go back to what was said earlier. Our problem, aside from lack of knowledge, is that we are our problem. You understand? Because we owe due care. Everyone does. So that means we would have the common sense enough to know not to be drunk while driving. Drunk while traveling,
right.
and or driving. So it goes back to a moral. Now, hold on. The fact that they know that we have no morals, that we think we're, coming out of slavery and look what the so-called, quote-unquote, white man has done and all that, and we are uneducated about facts of our own heritage and history. They take total advantage of that, put this instrument that you're discussing, and you laid out all these things, they got the seal on it, which is another good reminder as well, because it's just like with the birth certificate. The damn thing is already authenticated. We're so stupid we think we're going to go authenticate something that's already authenticated. The driver's instrument, as you said, has the seal of their state on it, of that particular state on it. And so you're right. We tacitly agree to it, but we agree to it through trickery and deceit, which there is a case law regarding trickery and deceit and in relationship to that driver's instrument. So this is where it is stated that truth and falsehood is strangely mixed. And when any of us have been indoctrinated into believing, just like you just laid it out, oh, yeah, this is a contract, we signed it. Is there another wet ink signature on that driver's license instrument? No, not at all. When you signed your autograph on there, was there another being in front of you that also signed in agreement? No, not at all.
Yes.
See?
Right.
So it's
and
not.
I want to also add the fact that, and thanks to Anna Eid, Mother Anna Eid, and yourself for this information. I don't know if you guys remember this, but that's why I love you guys so much. But also, and again, this is why this whole thing it blows people's minds when they come into the movement, because they don't have the information and they can't look at this thing. So one of the other things that I want to point out quickly is the Interstate Commerce Act, which was, again, Anna Eid, thank you so much, because it was Anna Eid, y'all, that researched this information, and I believe was one of the first people, if not the first person, to bring it to our attention. And so that information, it's mind blowing. So not only do you have them conducting this fraud, but there are also specific statutes that they are supposed to follow under their corporate state that basically says that you're not a driver unless you're making fiat. And so, and this is listed in sessions in Congress. Okay? So when I yield the floor.
All right. Let me see. Well, let's see. It is 12:05, and we got about 15 minutes before this broadcast ends. And Ron, you're echoing. That Ron, you're echoing.
It must be this.
What are you using?
Nothing different than I've ever used before. I may have an injury to my device. The other day, I think I banged it. Let me mute it.
All right. All right.
If anyone has a comment, question, or concern that they'd like to place on the table, please press 1 on your telephone dial. We got about 15 minutes left to this broadcast, and then we will see you tomorrow for Moor's Heritage and History School near Harlem Corporation at Northwest Mexham. One of the things that I wanted to say, because Brother Bacard said something in it, I had a thought in my mind that I wanted to share, and I hope I can bring it back. And I believe it had something to do with the right to travel, because, you know, we have to think about these things, and we have to think about them all the time. And you know, it is about taking action, but we need to be a little slow to action and just turn things over in our head, because one of the things that I have found is that I've had a thought, and I can, like, immediately go to my computer and write something up. But my spirit will tell me, wait. And I've learned to listen and wait. And, you know, invariably what happens is additional information comes along, sometimes in the form of some sort of an example. Something will happen, or you'll hear about something, or you'll see something, and right away you'll know, okay, this was the other piece of information. Now, once you get that additional piece of information, now you have to turn it over in your head again, because that piece of information changes everything that you previously had, because you have to add it to what you had, and then look at it, and it's a different picture. Of course, it's going to be a different picture. And when it comes to the right to travel, man, when I got into this information in 2008, you know, we moved with what we had. But the longer we turned it over and studied it, we found that there was some information that was missing. And then I remember hearing modern Europeans talking about you're not supposed to be issued any type of citation, or you're not supposed to be coming into any so-called court, or your license can't be taken away from you, and your automobile can't be taken. None of this stuff can happen to you unless the authorities come in by way of a review and subsequent letter from the United States Secretary of Transportation. And so I started looking for that, and I found it in Title 49. But I found a whole lot more in Title 49 as well. And that's what I found in Title 49. Surprise, surprise, the states are just participating. They don't own this program. They're allowed to administer it. And then, you know, North Carolina had that little discussion with Rod Claff, and they put out that the municipal corporations are not agencies of the state. They're private contractors hired to administer the driving and registration program. This is all documented. This is not any opinion. This is documented. What I would like, study that a bit more. Become familiar with it, and know without a shadow of a doubt that that is not commerce, that is not business, and there is yet to be identified the merchandise. Now, when we talk about this driving instrument and the registration, because they go together, if you're traveling and I don't even know why they bother with the registration, because if I'm traveling in my brother's automobile, whatever happens with that automobile, they're giving the person behind the wheel a ticket. So it's like, what's the point of registering the automobile? You're not going to give a ticket to a car. You're going to give the ticket to whoever's behind the wheel. So it's like there's no purpose for registering. But if we look at this whole driver's license and registration process, you have the Department of Motor Vehicle, which is a private corporation of sorts. And these are private corporations that was established locally by the states, but they are federal programs. And when you get these licenses or you get these registrations, it has at the top the name of the state, but not the name of the person. In law, you have to have a flesh and blood body person. Now, I know there's a lot of people talking about, well, you're a fiction, so I'm not a fiction. Okay, and let's just not even look at that. Because if you look at the registration and the driver's license application, which people presume is a form of a contract, like Ross said, how many autographs is on that document? Because I know I've only ever seen mine. So where is the other party, the other flesh and blood party? Don't tell me that my signature represents a corporation, because it doesn't. The name, the all-cap name can be on, the name on, like when you fill out the paperwork, you can put the correct name. It doesn't matter what name is on the paper. What matters is how many signatures signed off to it. And where's the second signature? A glaring issue in the law of contracts. Now, the other thing is, what is it that we are mutually agreeing to? I mean, I just want people to think about this. Because, see, there has to be mutual agreement, but what are we mutually agreeing to? Where's the terms and conditions contract? I know I've never seen it.
Right.
Here's an exercise for people. Go down to the Department of Motor Vehicle tomorrow and get every document they have. Well, you don't have to get every document. You can, because studying these documents, these forms, it's very interesting. They tell on themselves all the time. But be sure to get the application for license and the application for registration. Get those two documents and grab a copy of the driver's manual. Because if we study that, I guarantee you in there, they're going to incriminate themselves. Those applications, those documents, those can be used as evidence. So, but you can't use it as evidence if you don't first analyze it. See, I did that. I did that with the registration. I don't think I did that with the but I'm going to. It's my assignment too. I did do that with the registration, but I didn't do that with the license. So I will be making a trip tomorrow. What's tomorrow? Well, let me think. Because so many of the Department of Motor Vehicles up here got shut down that you just can't show up no more, which tells you that they're on their way out. Some of these municipal corporations are on their way out, too. A couple of years ago, they put out this thing where everybody needed to turn over their guns. And here's what's crazy. This is what's funny. We didn't know this because we needed more information. People were saying, well, I got a right to bear arms, and you can't tell me to turn my guns over and blah, 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 blah. That wasn't even for the people because the people have a right to bear arms. But these employees of municipal corporations, they do not have a right to carry a weapon. And on some of the states, some of the union states, the sheriff, I should say the police, disguised as a sheriff, they said they ain't giving up their guns, and it'll be an all-out war if you show up to take them. Why would the sheriff, remember who the sheriff is, why would the sheriff say that? A lot of the stuff that is going down to either the state, the feds have distanced themselves from the municipal corporations. They've also distanced themselves from the state. That's why if you go on to the, and I might have it on my computer, but on the Department of Justice, they put out a document where they said that they are no longer sanctioning the taking of the people's automobiles. This is what they said, because they're distancing themselves because the shit's about to hit the fan. Because the people across the nation, modern Europeans and Moors, they're about to learn that these county, city, township, boroughs, municipal corporations, they're not government, they're private, for-profit corporations. And when they learn that and they start reflecting on the things that they have lost as a result, there's a lot of noise, a lot of background noise, and the things that they have lost as a result of this intentional misinformation, it's going to be all-out war and chaos going on. It's about to get real serious. The writing is on the wall. It's on the wall. The prophet said that we need to learn things through signs and symbols. We need to pay attention to what's going on, because that time when possibly we may need to stay holed up in our homes for 3 months before this stuff calms down, it might very well be coming into fruition, because there's a lot of information being dropped on the people in this age of information, and people are absorbing it. So we need to study.
And
go ahead.
I just wanted to interject. And those who do not understand and know what you're talking about is talking about, let's start a new government. It's funny, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And you know what? And you know, I'm gonna end with this, because I think I don't know if it's just me, but I since I've been in this information, since I declared my nationality, got this information, declared my nationality in 2008, I have never seen so much people crawl from under rocks talking about they the real McCoy, they the prophet reincarnated, they the new government, all of this misinformation coming at the people from our own people. I've never seen so much of it at one time, which says to me something's getting ready to go down. And I know it's going to be a good thing, but it's going to be good for me. It's going to be good for us. It might not be good for all of these people that's like working real fast to throw out the misinformation to confuse the people. It's like they work in overtime. I've never seen so much of it as I do today. It could just be me. I'm just saying.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. They're on full-fledged, and it's funny because what you're saying goes right back to what Noble Drew Ali was saying about the press, what El Haj Malik El Shabazz was saying about the press. Like that's their mode of infiltration. And you're seeing it more now than ever. You know, it's a lot of things. Look, there's a lot of things going on where it's just telling us out with the old, in with the new.
Mm-hmm.
As on multiple levels, and I'm sure it's about to be some more things unveiled. But yeah, it's a new era. Like, it's a lot of things that are gonna fade out, and like you said, you know, we're good, but it's gonna be some changes. You can see it happening already. Yeah.
Cleansing right now. Like all of the people who are coming out, you know, whatever their little agenda, especially the divisive ones, all they're really doing is exposing themselves and asking for the retribution justice that's definitely coming their way quickly, you know, because that's what the time is. So that's what's happening.
Oh, yeah, real quick. That's a whole nother show, a whole nother broadcast, but for sure.
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's 12:23, and all of a sudden we got 3 additional questions. We don't have a lot of time, but I'm going to take 619-201. 619-201. You're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwestern Maxim. All right. Yes, not. 856-540. You're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwestern Maxim. All right. Yes, not. And then we got Brother Bakari. Are you back, Brother Bakari?
Yep, I'm still here.
Did you have another question, comment, concern?
Oh, I got a lot of questions. I got a lot of comments. I'm just not going to eat up all the time like that.
Well, it's 24 after. We got like 24, 2-3 minutes. So you got 3 minutes.
No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not. I already had it seem like I was talking.
All right.
Yeah. I just love that. I just want to say this. I just love talking about that topic because since I have been studying, since I have been listening to people like Taj Tariq-Bey, Roswell Maya Bey, yourself, Miss Rahim, Cujo, and many, many, many other Moors, it's all led me to information to consume. And it is because of that information that I was able to apply, or rather confirm why nationality is extremely important. And that's all I want to say.
All righty. Well, we shall see you maybe next week But thank you so much for that comment.
Indeed.
All right, well, that's a wrap. It's 26 after, and we're going to close out and play out our Pharaoh's Army. We shall see you tomorrow for Moorish Heritage and History School. Doors open at 6:30. Class starts at 7:30. And let's see. And so then we'll see you back here on Tuesday for another episode of Principles of Nationality in Action. Peace and love, family. Thank you so much for joining.
Peace and love, and Merry Winter Solstice to everybody.
Yes, Merry Winter Solstice.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
Watch for the 3 nights of stillness. Yes. Starting tomorrow.
Time to meditate.
Starting tomorrow. Yeah. All right.
That's right.
Meditate. And all your positive thoughts up. Plant your positive thoughts behind the sun. Let it rise on your metaphysical, Send out the good vibrations you want to manifest in life. And watch it take, heat. 90 degrees later in the spring, summertime, manifest your thoughts, the good thoughts.
All righty. All right, peace and love, everyone.
Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Our problem is lack of knowledge and the intended deceit and trickery done, because even those who read the bibliotext that you call the Bible says he shall fool even the most believe. So even those who think they're highly educated and this and that, they've been fooled. That's it. It's not really complicated.
It's the miseducation of the Negro. Everybody knows it to those who need to know. It's the miseducation of the Negro. When we rise from the dead, they call us Pharaoh. It's the miseducation of the Negro. Everybody knows except those who need to know. It's the miseducation of the Negro. When we rise from the dead, they call us Pharaoh. The gods are back. The Moors are strapped. We waking up. And we want our land back, running off, that's a trap. You know them guys don't like that. Waking up from a nap, like where the hell my crown at? Take a step back, like I know this bitch ain't bite back. It's kinda crazy how this karma it strikes back. We enslaved the Slavs, so they slaved us right back. We called them niggas, then they niggered us right back. We brought them the light, but they ain't bring that right back. If I was lazy, dirty dancing with the baby, then just maybe won't revolt like Haiti. I too sort Lova, Tor, Marcus Garvey, your ass. Nova Julia, our leading God body the man. Now I ain't gotta be bad, and you ain't gotta be mad, but the planet is heating up, so the first I'll be last. I got that melanin that's better than anything you ever medicine. We at your front door, wonder why you never let us in. Oh, I get it, you never wanted to put some credits in. Well, just forget it, cause I don't know if you can edit sin. We've been enlightened long before Thomas Edison. Skeletons that prove that you wasn't even relevant. In the Caucasus Mountains, cause the sun was your deficit. Captain Caveman with the plan of the Jesuits. Check my bloodline, but in time I bring the evidence. Self-governing body, so I don't need no president. Democrat, Republican, donkey versus elephant. I studied in law, so I ain't down with none of that. I self-law and master, so I'm running that. This Molotov cocktail burns faster, so I like the match. Despite the fact that ain't even what I'm mad at. I spit the truth, so here's the roof so you can hear that.
When you don't go to Geico.com, car insurance can be confusing. Like Swedish techno confusing.
Bark, bark, meow, meow. Dance with me, purple cow. Bark, bark, meow, meow. Ooh.